Hello everyone and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. Let's just kind of kick straight off with this. This has been lent to me by a friend who just bought this literally on the day it came out. This is Glendronach Cask Strength Batch 12, presented at natural cask strength and natural colour. That's stated on there. This is bottled at 58.2 ABV and is a combination of Pedro Ximinez and Oloroso sherry casks. And if rumour is to be correct, although it doesn't say it anywhere on the tube, this, I believe, is the last, or currently the last ever bottling of Glendronach Cask Strength to do the rounds. That may change at some point, and whether batch 13 will come out, or they'll rename it and call it, the new batch 1 or something. But I can't remember ever reviewing one. The only cask strength Glendronachs we've reviewed in the past have been single cask releases, one of which I bought at the distillery many moons ago, in fact nearly 10 years ago, which is kind of frightening. It is all gone now. I've never bought a bottle of Glendronach Cask Strength, but Max bought this. He's kindly lent it to me. He's a dear friend and a colleague, and he's got batch 11 and 12. I think he also might have batch 10, because Glendronach is just his thing. He loves cask strength whiskey. He's a big fan of Rachel Barry as a whole. But yeah, there's not really much to talk about other than that. We can kind of just crack on with this. I have the whiskey under a lid because it is British summertime, although there are some rather intense looking thunderclouds rolling in right now. And we're also going to do a test where we add some water to this, because I realise we try so many cask strength whiskies on this channel and I never add water to them to tell you whether or not they objectively taste better or worse. Well, both objectively and subjectively. You can feel both ways about it. But this has been in the glass for a while. It's got that really kind of classic Glendronach 12 colour to it. Slightly burnt orange. Ooh. What a nose that is. If any of you out there are fans of like amaretto biscuits or amaretto in general, my god. Tons of that rich, sweet, almondy, brown, sugary stuff. There's some nice custard notes kicking around in it, almost like cakey, like cake sponge, a cake batter. I think we all sort of licked the inside of the cake bowl at some point when we were kids, possibly even as adults. Get a lot of Italian things up this. So we've got amaretto biscuits, kind of the same thing, I suppose. There's some really nice roasty coffee, not quite espresso notes, but just darker, richer coffee notes, in a much nicer way than the Arabica, the Macallan release, because that was like really coffeed, but I thought they just went a bit too far with it. Forgive me if you hear any snoring in the background. The dog is asleep on the couch. He's had a big old walk today. There's some lighter stuff in there too. There's like some kind of icing sugar thing. The almondiness of what amaretto is kind of moving me into like sugared almonds, kind of like nice candied, like sweet shop smells. And now with the almond thing again, getting kind of cherry bakewell. Oh, sorry, that was my watch. Some cherry bakewell notes. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's like a little tart thing. Can't think of anywhere else to describe it. They're called a bakewell tart, so I don't know why I've said tart twice. It's like a little pastry case, and inside it you've got frangipan, which is like an almond, like a sweet almond mix. Little layer of jam, some royal icing on top, and then a little cherry. And I'm still getting that cherry thing too. Even moving into like slightly more bitter, dry, sweet stuff. Like there's a nice cranberry note in it as well. Weirdly enough, if you ever actually do mixed Disaronno or amaretto, any sort of amaretto with cranberry juice, it does taste a lot like a bakewell tart. But yeah, biscuits, roasted coffee, cherry, frangipan, amaretto. Very sweet, very rich, very dessert-like. This is the first whiskey I'm going to have drank today, so hopefully the 58 doesn't go over the top for me, but let's taste it. Pretty good. The 58.2 is not aggressive in any way. The Arrival is just all sweet, classic, older school Glendronach. It is full of like those foamy coffee, like cappuccino, mockery, sweet cream kind of things, and you really don't feel the build-up of the alcohol until quite long after it's actually been sat in your mouth for a while. The cherry note comes back in like mid-palate, which is just delectable, and then that brings in, for me anyway, those other flavours of like frangipane, almond, amaretto, crunchy biscuits. The finish, it is long. Been talking to you for about 30 seconds, maybe even a bit longer now, and it's still kind of rolling out this, again, like powdered sugary almond cake sponge, like vanilla kind of cake sponge. It's pretty normal, I suppose, vanilla. Some of the casks in this are probably American oak. Well, definitely are American oak. Oh, there's the rain. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud. There's something at the end of it I can't quite pick out. It is vanilla. Not in like a bad way, like it tastes like vanilla. But it's almost like not creme brulee, because it says that on the back of the box. What is that? It's like all over the world there are little chocolate bars called Milky Ways, and inside them it's not quite nougat and it's not quite marshmallow. It's definitely not marshmallow. It's kind of this in-betweeny. It's probably more like nougat than it is anything else, and that has like a really vanilla-y sweet thing to it. I'm getting loads of that. Let's do one more taste without water and then one with. That's really interesting. So in the second sip, it is significantly more powerful. The alcohol really stands up on the second sip. The finish is now like spicier. It's nowhere near as gentle and as rolling as it was before. It's got these huge, it's like needles of different flavours kind of running through the top of my palate. Don't do that in a bad way. It's just the only way I can think to express it. Much heavier coffee, significantly more intense alcohol profile. Those softer cherry and vanilla notes are gone. I'm replaced now with more of like a classic kind of raisiny dark chocolate feel to it. A little bit of water. I don't have a pipette, so we're going to go a little bit old school and just add a spoon full of water to this. And mix all that up while I try and figure out what it is I'm tasting. My brain is screaming the word sulphur, but it's not sulphur. I think it's just alcohol spice. With sherry, it's always going to happen anyway, but it's not sulphur. I think you could easily mistake just the intensity of the alcohol on that second sip for sulphur. But sulphur typically is much easier to pick up at ice cream. So that's well incorporated. Oh, much sweeter nose. Wafer biscuits, there's more cherry notes, what kind of appley? Like lighter almost. That's opened up a door. I don't think I've ever tasted lime juice in a sherried whiskey before. But with water, this thing has like the tang and the acidity of like a daiquiri, but with higher alcohol and more sort of brown sugary notes in the background. Imagine if you made a daiquiri with like super high proof rum and like demerara sugar syrup. It's kind of where this thing is sitting, especially with water. It's kind of moving like this. But I will say the finish with water is still really reminiscent of it. It doesn't seem to kill it at all. We've still got that nice amaretto thing, the biscuity thing, the vanilla thing, the Milky Way milk chocolate thing. Overall, it is a very, well, as I'd say where I'm from, a proper tasty whiskey. That is pretty awesome. Thank you, Max, for lending me this. Is it as good as some of my favourite whiskies already this year? Some of the flavour notes are surprising. Like, I didn't expect to taste amaretto and Milky Way bars. Is it as good as the Laphroaig I tried a couple of weeks ago? Because I think at the minute that's kind of my benchmark for this year's limited release stock. I think I gave the Cargis an 8.5. I should really make a note of these things. Ooh. I'm going to give this an 8. It's very tasty. The price is creeping up a little bit. I think Max bought this for 75, I believe. And there are some notes in there which I can see could put people off trying this. Like I say, it doesn't taste sulfury, but the amount of booze on it might make you think it is, if that makes any sense. But if you're a fan of like soft, sweet, desserty things, you will love this. I think it's missing just a little bit of, for me, what is classic Glendronach, which is like chocolate and orange. I didn't really get, well, the chocolate thing we sort of mentioned, but that kind of rich, voluptuous orange oil thing. Instead, we got lime juice, which was very unexpected. But this is certainly a challenging cask strength whiskey. I think if you were to wrap your lips around this, and your tongue, that's moving into a different area now, we would get a collection of different flavours and finishes that I don't think we would get from it. It's surprising me. But as a man who enjoys a little bit of nostalgia, it would be nice to get some more sort of classic notes from it. But in all honesty, I can't complain. An 8 is a very good score. If you like cask strength whiskey, you'll probably love this. And if you like Glendronach, whether it's older Glendronach or newer Glendronach, you'll probably still like this as well. And it's certainly presented at an ABV where you can explore Glendronach a lot more. And in fact, with this glass, I'm just going to add more and more water to it until it becomes kind of dead to see what develops. But yes, overall, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week. Cheers.